Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on your first vocational rehabilitation meeting. And I want you to think of it less like a stuffy interview and more like the very first meeting of your own personal success team. Look, if you're feeling a little nervous about this whole thing, I get it. That is totally normal. Any new process, especially when it's about your career, can feel kinda huge. But here's the thing. You are definitely not alone, and that's why we're here today. We're going to walk through exactly what to expect, step by step, so you can walk into that meeting feeling confident and ready to go. So first things first, let's talk about your team. And I'm using that word on purpose. This isn't some panel you have to impress. This is a strategy session, and you are absolutely the most important person in the room. The whole system is built around this program called Vocational Rehabilitation, or just VR for short. All you really need to know is that it's a partnership between the state and the federal government, and its entire reason for existing is to help you get the services you need to find a job and build a career. In that room, you're going to meet two main allies. First up is your VR counselor, or VRC. The best way to think of them is as the architect of your plan. They see the big picture, they manage your case, they handle the funding, they design the blueprint. Then you've got your employment specialist, or ES. They're like the general contractor. They're the ones on the ground, providing that hands-on support right there in the community with things like job coaching to help you knock it out of the park. All right, so you know who you're meeting. Let's talk about what to bring. A little prep work here can make the whole process go so much faster and smoother. Think of it as putting together your documentation toolkit. And listen, this isn't about proving yourself. It's just about having the info handy so things can move forward. You'll want to grab a photo ID and your social security card, any award letters you have for SSI or SSDI, maybe some recent medical or school records, a quick summary of jobs you've had, and the contact info for any recent doctors or therapists. And here's a really important piece of advice. You do not have to do this alone. In fact, you're encouraged to bring your circle of support. That could be a parent, a good friend, a guardian, really anyone who gets you and can be there as a second set of ears and a friendly face. And as you're getting ready, just keep this quote from Ernie, someone who's been through this, in your mind. He said, "I'm proud of every step I took and didn't give up." It's such a great reminder that just showing up for this meeting is a huge step. It's something to be really proud of. Okay, let's get into what actually happens in the meeting. The first big part is really all about you, and I want you to hear me on this. This is a conversation, not an interrogation. They call it the intake process, but really, it's just a deep dive conversation where your team gets to know you. Not just your medical history, but what you're passionate about, what your skills are, what you're interested in. They really just want to understand what makes you, you. Now, part of this conversation will touch on something called functional limitations. I know that sounds super clinical, right? But all it is a practical chat about how your disability might create some specific challenges at a job. It is not about focusing on what you can't do. It's about being real so the team can find the absolute best solutions. Maybe that means lifting heavy things is tough, or that keeping track of a bunch of instructions at once is a challenge. But that's only half the story, because right after that, the conversation is going to pivot hard to your assets, to your strengths. What are you awesome at? What talents are you already bringing to the table? This is so important. It's an asset-based approach, and it completely changes the focus from what are my limitations to what is possible for me. That shift is a game changer. Okay, so once your team has a really clear picture of both your strengths and your challenges, the focus shifts. It's no longer about who you are today, but where you want to go tomorrow. It is officially strategy time. And they'll usually kick this part off with a pretty simple question. What are some of the things that might stand in your way? Again, this is not a test. They just want to talk about some of the common, real-life hurdles lots of people face. You know, things like getting a ride to work, having a stable place to live, or that very real fear of losing benefits if you start earning money. Your team has seen it all, and they're there to help you problem solve. A huge question for a lot of people is about disclosure. Do I have to tell an employer about my disability? And if I do, when do I do it? How do I say it? This is 100% your decision, but the best part is you don't have to figure it out on your own. Your team will help you come up with a strategy that you feel comfortable and confident with. They'll also talk about something called accommodations, and that's just a fancy word for the tools or changes that can help you totally succeed at your job. It could be anything from having a job coach there for your first couple of weeks, to using special software on a computer, or even just having a more flexible schedule. So with all those pieces on the table, it's time to set some goals. And you'll do it using the SMART framework. That just means making sure your goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So a short-term goal might be, say, getting a forklift certification in the next 18 months. And a long-term goal could be working full-time in a warehouse 5 years from now. See, it's all about a clear path. And that brings us to the final part of the meeting, which is honestly the most empowering part of all. This is where you formalize the plan that puts you officially in the driver's seat of your career. Everything you've talked about, your goals, your strengths, the support you'll get, it all comes together in one document. It's called the Individualized Plan for Employment, or IPE, and it is exactly what it sounds like, your personal roadmap to getting a job you love. Your IPE will spell everything out. It'll list your exact job goal, every single service that VR is going to pay for to help you reach it, and also your responsibilities, like making sure you show up for appointments. And it's just important to know, depending on funding in your state, sometimes there's a wait list. Your counselor will be totally transparent with you if that's a possibility. So you see, you leave that first meeting not with a job offer, but with something way more powerful. You leave with a team that has your back and a personalized roadmap to get you where you want to go. So the only real question left is, what's that first step you're going to take?